Welcome to another episode of Beyond Four Walls, the podcast that takes you on a journey through the world of property and introduces you to remarkable individuals who are shaping the industry. Today, I am delighted that we have Melissa Potente as our guest. Melissa is a seasoned professional with a wealth of experience in the property and renovation sector. Melissa's passion for transforming spaces and creating homes that inspire has led her to establish MJP Homes. Inndecs, sorry.
That's okay.
And Meliora Renovations. With a keen eye for design and a dedication to quality craftsmanship, Melissa has earned a reputation for excellence within the industry. Welcome, Melissa. Thank you so much for being with me today.
What an amazing intro. Thank you, Jodie.
You're very welcome. So can you tell me a little bit about your background and how you became involved in the property and renovation industry?
Should I take you way back when?
You can go as far back as you like.
So it kind of found me really because after uni in London, I was working as a business analyst, very far away from any sort of build or renovations. And my dad had approached me because he wanted to retire. So he'd been running Inndecs, which is our commercial build company, since 1998. And he was looking to retire. He approached me and was like, would you like to come and take over the business? Now, obviously, at this time, I've never worked in the build sector before. I was pretty apprehensive about my ability, but it seemed like too good of an opportunity to turn down. So I thought I'll give it a go and we'll see what happens. A bit of a sliding doors moment, I always think, in my life there, because I could be sat in some corporate building right now.
Yeah.
But I'm here. So I came home and my brother was already working with Dad anyway. And then over the next couple of years, we modernised the business. Dad was very reliant on just two key clients, so we were able to grow the client base, you know, new brand, new website. Luckily for me, the move worked out really well and I was really enjoying what we were doing. We decided to start MJP Homes as a bit of a side hustle in 2017. So I came on board in 2011, started running Inndecs. And then because my dad had always bought property and had buy-to-lets, I think it was always something that we were inevitably going to do. And we thought, well, we'll start MJP and then when the build team are quiet, we can get them working on one of our projects. But it's kind of evolved into its own business as well now, which is really exciting because we've been going for some time. And so, yeah, we just use our own build team, use our sort of design experience then, because we're not designers. I don't have any design credentials. I just have the privilege of working with some very talented people.
Yeah.
So we're able to pinch what's on trend or what we've used on a commercial site perhaps and use that in our houses. And then you touched upon Meliora Excellence and Renovations. We launched that brand last year as like a residential side of the company, working as part of the Inndecs group, where we do high-end residential in the Cotswolds, so house remodelling, extensions, that sort of thing. So that's where it all began.
Oh, brilliant. I mean, I was going to ask you what inspired you to start your own business, but I think you've covered that and just following your dad's footsteps, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, when we started MJP, I was going through some personal difficulties. I found myself as like a single mum. I had a 15-month-old baby. And I think I thought that by having property, that would always be a fallback, or I could always rely on that as an asset producing, you know, company. And so I think that was what gave me the push to do it at that time. And I think sometimes when you find yourself in tricky situations like that, it gives you a little bit of bravery, perhaps, just to go for it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it sounds like you've done some amazing things. I mean, 3 businesses, that sounds incredible. What's the difference between the 3 then?
Well, the reason why I do have a lot of help. So obviously I work with my siblings, and my brother heads up everything all site-based, and my sister runs the office. So I'm not doing it alone. I couldn't possibly do it without their help. And also our build team are just Like they're so amazing. The workmanship and the speed at which they do it is just incredible. So we're really lucky to have those guys on board with us. So the key differences, so Inndecs is commercial fit out. So we specialise in leisure and hospitality. So bars, pubs, hotels and restaurants. But because traditionally those type of establishments don't want their bar, pub, hotel or restaurant closed for a very long period of time. So we are set up to be able to come in, run the whole project from start to finish as principal contractor as quickly and as safely as possible. So that's the fundamentally what Inndecs is. And then MJP is a property investment company which buys to hold. So we'll buy dilapidated properties in Gloucestershire, we'll renovate them, and then we rent them out and then hold on to that asset. There's only one property, which I'll touch on later, that we are going to sell, but I can explain why. But predominantly we're buy to hold. And then Meliora Excellence in Renovations takes all of the same. You kind of get a lot more with commercial builds. So you get QSing, cost analysis, project programs, handover packs, build cleans, which you don't sometimes get in the residential sphere. So we've taken all of those elements which we think give a client like a superior service, and we provide those to a high-end client in the Cotswolds. So it might be someone's second home, they may be relocating to the Cotswolds, and they want a company like ourselves to provide a complete hassle-free turnkey solution for their refurbishment, remodel, extension.
It sounds like it all fits in. 3 separate businesses, but all fits in very nicely.
We're lucky that there is a fair bit of crossover between them all, which makes it easier, obviously, to do all 3. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and our fantastic build team that works across all 3 that enables us to provide these beautiful projects.
Yeah, absolutely. So could you share some of the projects or renovations that you've worked on and maybe some of the challenges you encountered along the way?
Sure. Would you like a commercial project or a property project?
Let's do property for now.
Okay. All right.
Maybe we'll get onto commercial a bit later.
Yeah, sure. So earlier this year we did a children's home for a care provider that we work with locally. We had been trying to source this house for this particular care provider for over a year because unfortunately the project we had lined up, we got gazumped by a cash buyer on completion day.
Oh my gosh.
It was honestly terrible because we've lost thousands of pounds on it because obviously by that stage you've done valuation surveys, you've paid fees to solicitors.
Yeah, well, you're good to go, weren't you, by completion day?
We transferred the funds, it was all ready to go, but unfortunately that one didn't come off. So then we were back to square one. We sourced this new property, which was a 5-bed detached with annex. Looked like any other residential home. It was lived in by an older couple and their elderly mum. We were like, this is perfect, it's in the right location. I managed to agree a good price. And then a couple of weeks into conveyancing, we discovered that there was a covenant on the house by the neighbouring property, which is like a commercial storage facility, that the house could not be used for any commercial purposes. And for it to be a children's home, it did need change of use into commercial. So we contacted the owner of the covenant to ask for it to be waived. And of course, he's then got pound signs in his eyes, lighting up, thinking this is worth, however much. We had it valued at £5,000 by a surveyor, but then he said no, and it went on and on and on. We ended up having to pay £15,000 for the waiver to be removed. But it just goes to show that you could, look at any residential property and then you might get into the intricacies of the conveyancing and realise it's actually not as simple as you thought. So that was a little lesson for us there in covenants. Luckily, the rest of the project went really well. The refurb went really well. There was nothing that cropped up in the refurb to worry about, and we handed that over to the new tenants in April, I think. That went across. So yeah, like I say, 2 lessons learned there really. Getting burnt on completion day, and secondly about covenants. But I think that's true. I don't know if you find the same, Jodie, but with property, every day is a learning day.
Oh, absolutely. 18 years in and I'm still learning every day.
Something crops up and I'm like, what the hell is this? But it all adds to your abilities, doesn't it? As you go through, you get
all good experience.
Yeah, older and wiser.
Yeah, definitely. So tell me what you think sets your businesses apart from other companies in the industry.
You get a really personal service with our guys, like with us. Like I said, I work with my siblings, with my brother and sister, and we made a decision a few years back that we could grow the business and take on loads more guys and take on loads more projects, but we would lose the element of our personality in that, and so we decided that we would stay smaller. I say smaller. We're able to take on project values of up to £1 million. We're small but capable, we say. But you still get to work with us, and you get a level of service that perhaps you might not get in a bigger, more corporate build company, and we pride ourselves on that. So that would be the difference. And I think the finish, not just on our commercial and residential projects, but the finish that we give to all of our houses, I think sets us apart. We always go that little bit further, because I think if a tenant moves into a house and it's beautiful, they are going to make sure it stays beautiful, rather than the other way around. You give someone that's like something mediocre, then perhaps not going to look after it as well. So, and it obviously helps with capital appreciation. We're always pushing for the very highest ceiling height we can get on a property, so we can recycle as much money out as possible.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
definitely. So I ask most of my guests this question, and it's quite surprising actually, the difference in the answers. But common misconceptions. Obviously, I talk a lot about leasehold and that sort of thing, and I speak to a lot of property managers. But from your perspective of maybe the renovation industry, is there anything that you'd like to address about common misconceptions that you might come across?
Yes, I do think that there is always a feeling that as a builder, you have to prove that you're not going to rip somebody off. That's a tough one. And I think that's why when we're really clear with all of our pricings, you get full schedule of works, you get cost analysis all the way through the job. We always want a client to feel like they're very well informed as to how much something costs, or how much they're paying, or where they're at on a project. Because there's too many, sorry to use the word, cowboy builders out there that'll scribble a number on a piece of paper and say, oh, that's how much it's going to cost you. Well, what's included in that? What exclusions are there? What prelims have you got? What provisional sums have you got? It just blows my mind. So it's frustrating that you still have that challenge of the misconception that builders are going to rip you off, because we're not going to rip you off. We're fair. And then obviously there's the misconception that women are perhaps perceived as less able to be working in the build industry, which my sister and I are challenging quite strongly. There's always a feeling that when I'm on site, particularly commercially, if they've not met me before, I have to work much harder to prove myself to be taken seriously.
They think you're the assistant or something.
They always think I'm the designer. No, they always think I'm the designer. They're like, "Oh, you're the designer," and I'm like, "No, I'm the builder." So you have to know what you're talking about, because if you don't, you get pulled up on it, and they'll think you don't know what you're talking about. So there's an element of having to work harder in that respect. But I'd like to see more women working in the build industry, because we're really organised. We've got keen eye for detail. There's so many elements of it that are well suited to women, but I guess maybe the younger generation can't see those women in those positions, so they can't see themselves there. But I'm hoping, over the next couple of years, with more women working on site as well, that will hopefully change.
Yeah. Well, you're leading the way by the sound of it. So
flying the flag.
Absolutely, we need to keep going. I work in the leasehold sector. Do you have any experience in leasehold?
We have one block of flats in Cheltenham, and this was the one exception that I said that we are going to sell. So we've got one block of 4 flats in a lovely Georgian listed building. We bought them like 4 years ago, thinking that they were going to be our like high-end Airbnb. But actually, when we ran the numbers, so we had some numbers done for us, Airbnb for one-bed apartments in Cheltenham is just totally oversaturated. So they've just been on ASTs the whole time, and they've always been full, but the building does need some renovation. So we're going to split the title and then sell them off individually. So that'll be the next kind of big project for early next year. Other than that, everything else is freehold.
Okay. Well, if you need a good managing agent, you know where I am.
Yeah,
got to get that one in there. Yeah. So in your experience, what do you think the key factors to consider are when planning a successful renovation project?
Getting everything priced and planned out before you start, because, for example, something really simple as a room layout, if you don't think about where the bed's going, where your table lamps are going, where you need plug sockets, if you've started and you first fix and then you come along and think, oh, actually, that bed's in the way of that radiator, then you've got to get that socket moved, you're going to pay twice for it. Yeah. So there is a lot of economies in sitting down and really thinking about the project before you start. Get it all priced so you know where you're at. Put a contingency in, because when you're working with existing buildings, there'll always be something that will crop up.
You'll always find something.
There's always something wrong. So put some contingency in there, and just work with people that you know. So if you're going to run your own renovation project, make sure you're working with someone that knows what they're doing, preferably that's worked on, if it's like a buy-to-let project, something similar, so they know about compliance stuff, so like regulations for fire, so fire alarm panel, emergency lighting, that will all help, because again, you don't want to be retrofitting that because it will cost you twice as much. And if you're licensing, so if you're looking at doing a HMO, check the local council. They'll have a handbook on there of all of the requirements that you will need to obtain a license. Make sure that you've got all of the fundamentals planned out. So if you have a building over 4 levels and you have bedrooms on the 4th level, you will need a kitchenette on the 3rd if your kitchen is on the ground floor. And that might be different for different local councils as well. So I know for Gloucester, you need to have a kitchenette facility for people living on the 4th floor. Likewise, there are also some requirements for the number of toilets, etc. So check all of that before you start works, because you want to make sure that you're able to obviously get it licensed when you finish, and that you're not trying to retrofit any of these things, because it would be really crazy expensive.
Yeah, definitely. Navigating the challenges and stuff and unexpected obstacles, you've just touched on that, really. But is there anything that particularly stands out to you in one of your projects? I know you mentioned earlier about having to pay all of that money for governance and that sort of thing. Is there anything that you can think of maybe that's a bit more, I don't know, inspiring, or an inspiring story that we've done? I mean, children's home sounds amazing, by the way. But
still. I know. I hope that the house that we've done there is a comfortable home for them as well.
For me, for example, I always look at the properties that I manage. This is somebody's home. This is somewhere where they want to feel safe and secure. And I know I only look after the communal areas, but you know, as soon as you walk through that communal door, that is part of your home. And like for me, for my own home, for example, whenever I do anything, you know, it's because I want to feel that it's mine and it's safe. So maybe on the renovation from in Meliora, maybe.
I think we're quite proud of the fact that we've got quite a few supported living houses now, and that we are helping these younger people coming out of the care system to get into a normal, like, living independently and starting work, and they're taking such great care of all of the houses as well, and they're, you know, going into employment. So I guess that's nice that we're able to provide a service there.
You've mentioned there about supported living properties and the children's home and all that kind of thing. I think when you're doing it every day, you just think, well, that's my job and I'm just doing it and I'm just kind of get on with it, and you're rolling through everything. But actually, when you step back, you think, do you know what? I've created a home for kids who, you know, and I've created a home for people who probably couldn't live on their own.
I think there's a lot to be said for the care providers as well. Like, we're working with a company that really does care. I'm sure you will have come across some. Maybe I'm not so caring. But they are really good at what they do, and so, you know, it kind of goes hand in hand. They're providing a really good service. We're providing a really good home, and then hopefully the two are leading to successful placements for these young people, and, you know, starting their life, like their adult life, on the right track.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, there's a lot to be said for what you're doing, and don't underestimate what you're achieving. I think it's incredible.
That's very kind.
If somebody came to you, say somebody like me, who, you know, can you come and renovate my home? What advice would you, or can you, maybe not can you renovate, but can you give me some advice on, you know, what should I do? You touched on it earlier, which was great tips. Thank you, by the way, because I'm kind of doing mine at the moment. But is there, you know, if somebody came to you just like me, just random person off the street, can you give any advice to people who want to buy a property and completely do it up from scratch?
Yeah, we do. I'm actually going to view a house with someone I know through commercial contact. He's relocating from Brighton, and he wants me to go and have a look at the house with him. So I'll just walk around, give him an idea of. We've already kind of roughly, based on the floor plan and the house brochure, kind of put some rough provisional sums against decoration, and but more sort of like to walk the walk with him and see what work needs doing. Can he add some value to it? So yeah, we're always open to helping people in that way. You know, he might not buy it, but he might do, and then hopefully he'll use us for his renovation project.
Absolutely,
so that's how it goes. And also because I know him, like, as a connection through work, it's a bit like networking, isn't it? Like, you know, if everybody helps each other, then it becomes reciprocal. So,
absolutely, and you work with people who you can trust at the end of the day, isn't it? So when a homeowner's looking to add value to their property, and, you know, and they potentially, you know, came to you and said, okay, so there's land next to my house, or I could put on an extension above my garage or something like that. Is that advice that you can give to people, or?
Yes, but I would probably say us plus an agent, so an estate agent. So depends on if somebody is. So if they want to live in their home and they want to add value to it, and they want to stay there and live there, then I would go down like an extension sort of build route. If they are looking to add value but they want to move, then you could look at just a planning permission route. So you would come along with an estate agent. The estate agent would be able to give you an idea of like the uplift in value if you were to do the build project. But it might be that you could just spend a couple of £1,000s on architect drawings and the planning permission, and then you could try and sell your house then with the planning permission for the build. So you sell it to the buyer with the dream of the extension. You don't actually have to do the extension yourself. You still add some value through the planning permission.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So it depends on, you know, what you want to do. Do you want to stay or do you want to relocate? So yeah, there's a couple of things you can think about.
Okay, that's really interesting. And in terms of sustainability and energy efficiency and stuff like that, so the government have put in a target, which is laughable in a way, that all blocks of flats, for example, need to be retrofitted by next year, 2025.
Yeah.
And that's, I think you've got to do something like 200 blocks of flats in every 2.5 seconds or something ridiculous. It's a bit crazy. Do you put any energy efficiency provisions in your properties?
So we try to, when we're renovating, do as much as we can. So like on our latest project, and really basic things like insulate the loft, change all the doors and windows, put a pressurized hot water cylinder in, change the boiler. So there's some, like, you know, all of the communal lighting is on PIRs, some really basic things like that. I'm sceptical about the target by the government because it's going to cost landlords a lot of money. So I'm not sure they're going to be able to afford it, and B, how are they going to police this?
Well, exactly. Yeah.
Who's going to go around and check it? And quite a few of our properties in our portfolio are actually listed, so they would be exempt from any like EPC. So like if you've got original sash windows that are single glazed, you wouldn't change those because it's listed. So you can do what you can do, but it'd be interesting to see. I mean, there's so much out there now, like air source heat pumps and solar panels, but it's all still really expensive.
It is.
And until that becomes more cost effective, you know, when planning a renovation, I'm not going to add another 20k onto the budget to go all out on sustainability, because we generally just can't afford it.
Yeah.
So until that starts to come down, I think you won't get as many people wanting to do it.
Yeah.
But I think we all should at the same. I'm you know, I think that
it's nice to have, isn't it? And it's, you know, from a moral standing,
we all should be doing what we can do, but equally, you know, we don't have that extra 20-25k to spend on solar panels and that. So it'd be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it's quite restrictive as well. The whole solar panel discussion. I mean, I was looking at doing it on my property, and they originally said we could have 11 panels. Then they said we could have 8 panels. Then they said, actually, no, you can only have 3 because we can't get under the eaves. And
oh no.
And then they said we're not going to do it at all because we can't. Basically, they probably got fed up with us, to be fair, because we were arguing with them over batteries and all that kind of thing. But you know, it's great. You've got the salespeople who come out and then they do all of their talking. Oh yeah, you can do this, this, and this, and it's going to be this amount of money. But actually, when it comes down to it, there doesn't seem to be a connection between the sales team and the surveyors, because what the sales team say you can do, the surveyors say no.
You can't do,
or your house it's not appropriate because it's listed or something like that. But, you know, and I get it, the sales team have got a target to hit.
So they're just
But there needs to be a bit more joined up thinking between everybody, between the government, between the companies that do it, and
agreed,
and that sort of thing.
But also, like, from a landlord's point of view, so say we said, right, we're going to go and stick solar panels on all the houses. We'd have to renew all of the roofs as well, because you wouldn't stick solar panels on an old roof, would you? So then it's like adding all of that like, cost on as well.
Yeah, or at least have a surveyor up there to check it all, that it would be suitable. And so, I mean, there's always a cost involved, isn't there?
Yeah.
Which actually brings me on to my next question randomly, about striking a balance between staying within a client's budget and fulfilling their expectation. How do you manage that?
So commercially is really easy because it's all kind of specified when you start. Normally, like the likes of Greene King and that have got wholesale deals with particular suppliers. So as long as we provide what's on the drawing for the budget that they've given us, that kind of gets signed off. MJP, we're our own client, so I'm setting the budget and I'm normally trying to choose middle of the road cost, but for maximum finish. So you might choose some more, like, I don't know, go a bit more exciting with the paint colours to try and like give it that like higher end feel, but it's all middle of the road kind of cost. And then with Meliora, the client there wants the best of the best and is normally happy to pay for the best of the best as long as the service and the finish and the quality. And also, if you're working with a designer, normally that designer has come up with some sort of mood board or feel for the project, but then becomes like a project team then. So like they've given them this vision, we've priced it. There normally is a bit of like back and forth. So for instance, we've just priced a bathroom project for K-Works, and it had like micro cement on the walls. We're taking the ceiling out, restructuring the roof, putting some Velexes in. It was all singing or dancing, but it was about 50k. And he was like, I don't want to spend 50k on a bathroom. I wouldn't want to spend 50k on a bathroom. So we revised it down. So we're going to go with some tiles on the wall instead, taking out some like finishes, and we've got it down to more like 32 now, which is, so there's always like room to move things down by using different finishes, and it's just being clever enough to make sure that it still looks beautiful, even though you might not have used the most expensive of finishes.
Speaking of advice, finally, final question for you. What advice or words of encouragement would you offer to individuals who want to build a career in property or renovation, or do what you do and fly the flag for women?
I would say soak up all of the free resources that we're so lucky to have nowadays. So like podcasts, property magazines, books. There are so many resources now where you can be educating yourself. You don't need to go and pay tens of thousands of pounds on property training. There's a really, really good podcast that the Property Hub do, Rob and Rob. Rob Dix has written some fantastic books about money, so just understanding the fundamentals of money and how the government works and how the government's debt works, because that all ties into mortgages and interest rates. And so just educating yourself on some of those basic, I mean, it should be taught in schools, but that's another conversation.
That's another podcast.
That's another podcast. But just, soaking up as much information as you possibly can. Yeah, just learning as much as you can, making use of any resources that you can. And also, I think the Property have some free education stuff on their website as well. I could be wrong, but I think there is. And like a community hub, talking to people that have done it. So getting out there, going to networking events, and like the Pin's very good. Speaking to investors, people that are doing refurbishment projects, speaking to builders. Soak up as much information as you can.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'll put all of your contact details for the different companies in the show notes. How can people find you if they wish to do so?
Best place is LinkedIn. So I'm just at Melissa Potente. But we do also have Instagram accounts and websites for all of the companies. If you want to see any of our case studies, find me on LinkedIn and connect.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my latest podcast. You can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram. The links are in the show notes. Or you can contact me on Jodie at jodiefraser.com. For more content and updates, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on your favourite platforms. Thank you once again for listening. Until next time, take care.